The U.S. is having high inflation, the dollar would be going down.
Typically a sign of coming inflation.
This is a huge print coming up, also in terms of what it means for the Fed's next step.
So we've got an election coming in November, and I think they see these inflation numbers, the highest number since 1981, and raise taxes even more.
What's up everybody? Simon here. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the craziest things that's happening, and that's right, that's inflation. If you're new to my channel, you probably have not seen, but I predicted this inflation or hyperinflation about 2 years ago when I first launched this channel, talking about all the money that the feds were printing and pumping into the economy. If you have not seen those videos and you want to go back in time and see how I looked 2 years ago, go ahead, check out those past videos in regards to hyperinflation.
2 years back.
Hey guys, this is Simon Katz. Today we're going to talk about the coronavirus possibly causing a hyperinflation with all the stimulus money that the feds released to combat the mini recession we're in. But in this video, we're going to cover what inflation means today. We have seen the highest inflation rise since 1981 at 9.1%. In June alone, everything is going up. But the crazy thing is, wages are actually going down. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about the crazy inflation jump in June of 2022 and what this means for the economy and for you. We'll also look at which markets, segments, products, and services have gone up the most and have been affected by the inflation that we're seeing now. So before I get into this video, I always ask that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check out my past videos, and I appreciate it. It's the biggest favor you could do for me. So let's get into this one. So the consumer price index rose 9.1% from a year ago this June. That is above the 8.8% Dow Jones estimate. And excluding food and energy, the core CPI rose 5.9% compared to the 5.7% estimate. Everything is surging from gasoline to food to furniture to automobiles. I just did a used car automobile video. Pretty much everything's going up except your wages to keep up with this rapid inflation increase. Adjusted from typically when we see inflation, we see people earning more money. Companies pay out higher salaries, but recently companies have been laying people off with Tonal, a San Francisco-based startup that had a TV/style workout that's thin, it's on the wall. This company recently laid off 30% of its workforce. We've seen Tesla lay off a lot of their workforce as well. In fact, we've seen companies shut down their offices all across the Bay Area, and it's only getting worse. Adjusted for inflation, workers' hourly wages fell by 1% during the month, and they are down 3.6% from a year ago. That's 4.6% minus the inflation. Technically, you're taking the 9.1%, that is the inflation, that equates to a 13.7% increase in cost of living. So no wonder people are stressed out, frustrated, and are worried with what's going to happen with the economy. On top of that, we have seen some of the biggest crashes in cryptocurrency and the stock market, which I've covered in my videos in the past, so check those out. The mother of all stock market crashes, cryptocurrency crash, or the cryptocurrency bubble has popped. So it is no secret that the panic is becoming way too real and it's affecting everyday Americans. On top of that, there's no stimulus coming into America. In fact, the government has approved a major stimulus package for Ukraine in the billions. Yet they have not done anything for America in the billions to counter the gas prices and everything else that's happening. Shoppers have paid a higher price for a wide variety of goods, including electricity, food, gas, medical care, apparel, furniture, electricity, transportation, automobiles, you name it. Everybody is being affected by this inflation. And the market has seen the fastest pace of inflation since November of 1981. That is over 40 years ago, or about there. That is over 40 years ago. So the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, if you don't know what that is, increased 5.9% for food and energy costs. Now that beat the estimates. This is not good, folks, and it's getting worse. This could push the Federal Reserve Bank into a even tougher situation, raising your interest rates again. That means those used car prices, those new cars, homes are all going to get slowed down, potentially because it's going to cost more to loan, or people aren't going to be able to afford housing anymore, even more so than before. We may see a 10% interest rate on homes on a 30-year fixed mortgage. We were just at a 2.75% interest rate nearly 7-8 months ago at its lowest point. It's incredible how fast things have gotten out of hand, and it is the trickle-down effect from all these problems that have been accumulating in the past several years, and we're just witnessing what happens when things get mismanaged. The problem with this inflation, there is also a recession that is lingering. We have not had a recession for 14 years. The last major recession was 2008. We did have a 2-month recession in 2020 due to the pandemic, but that didn't really count. So overall, we're seeing the craziest inflation prices. We're seeing worker layoffs, but at the same time, we're on the brink of a recession. So the Fed doesn't know what to do to stabilize the economy. Do they raise interest rates to curb the inflation? But by doing so, they could hit a mass recession right away. Another big thing we have to discuss is energy prices. It costs more money to heat your home now. 7.5% increase in energy on the month alone. And that is over 41% in the past 12 months. How do people afford energy? They won't be able to heat their home or keep their lights on with what's going on. It's incredible, and it's sad actually. Luckily, the food increase was only 1% from the Consumer Price Index. However, the housing increase or housing or rental increase costs are up 5.6% annually. Yet, this is the 6th straight months that food has risen by 1%. So that steak that you want to purchase at your local butcher, you may have to go with USDA Choice instead of USDA Prime. Rental costs were up 0.8% in June alone, and that's the largest monthly increase since 1986. Gasoline prices. Who loves going to the pump nowadays and feeling broke? I filled up a Toyota the other day. It was a small Camry, or Corolla, excuse me, and it took $55 to fill that tank up. That is a tiny car. Can you imagine someone driving a truck? I also own a work van or a cargo van. It took me $212 to fill that cargo van up. It's incredible. And with gas prices rising 11.2% on the month alone, nearing $7 to $8 marks at their peaks in areas like Los Angeles and San Francisco, we are up 60% in the 12 months period. New and used car prices still went up, although the used car price market is finally feeling a bubble with an estimate that's gonna crash. On top of that, travel has gotten more expensive. Not only are hotels more expensive, airfare is still up over 34% in the course of a year. Meat and poultry is still up nearly 12% in the year. These increases mark another month that people are struggling to afford and have everyday goods that they're accustomed to. And again, it's frightening that people are losing not only hourly jobs or are working potentially less, but are losing money and are not making what it is necessary to make to keep up with this rapid inflation. Workers are hit again with a 4.6% 6% decrease in wages combined with that 9.1% increase in everything else, that brings you to a 13.7% total cost of increase in your everyday life over the year. And that is incredible because no job out there is giving you nearly 14% to cover your losses. Of course, the wages are a result of multiple aspects, including clogged supply chains, bad markets, you name it. There's just mismanagement all across the board in many sectors of the government and the way that they prepped for the pandemic. So that has affected a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals, and it is now trickling into what we are seeing today. Now, of course, like our government always does, it blames Russia, and they blamed inflation on that famous leader, Vladimir Putin, who has his own problems in his country. But the White House seemed to be blaming him. I don't think it's fair to blame him. Don't like the guy. I'm not for the war. However, I will say this. It is not his fault. Prices of inflation were going up way before the Ukraine war has happened. And we're seeing a lot of effects of what we have done to counter the pandemic with the stimulus and everything else that happened that got mismanaged during that time. So it's not fair for our government to blame another government, and it's also not fair for our government to continue sending money overboard, to continue sending money overseas when there are many struggling Americans here, failing to even potentially pay gas prices. If gas prices continue to soar, you are going to have to get a job in your neighborhood. You'll probably marry someone within walking distance, etc. It's going to get crazy. It's almost going to take us back to the time when vehicles did not exist and it would be a journey to travel from point A to point B. As a young individual, I remember gas prices was not affordable to me when I got my first car. So what we did back in the day was we had people fade in on gas. One of the first conversations would be when someone would call up is, hey, can you pick me up? Are you fading on gas? Because it was just so expensive back then. I can only imagine how expensive it is now to drive 30, 40 miles to do something. It's going to cost you $8 on a car that's averaging 30 miles a gallon at this point, and that's unbelievable. That's just one way. So the U.S. economy is in trouble. Inflation is out of control. The Feds, if they continue pushing that interest rate, it's going to potentially lead to a collapse or a recession. If more people are getting laid off, this is going to be even worse. And guess what? Jobs are going to continue to decline with robotics coming in and taking some of these jobs over. In the trucking industry, they're going to have trucks that drive themselves. In the fast food industry, we're seeing robots prepare your hamburgers. Uber's planning to not have drivers in the future. It's going to be total chaos. And I think it's going to get really bad before we figure this out. Ultimately, there's going to have to be some type of universal payment system for people because they're going to be out of jobs. There's just going to be not enough demand for jobs in certain sectors, and specialty jobs are always going to be in demand. However, a lot of these Uber jobs and jobs that automated robots can take over, it's going to wipe out an entire economy and sector of the job force. So that's going to be even worse. Inflation, not good. Recession, not good. It's a juggling effect. Hopefully they figure it out. If you have any comments in regards to inflation or how much you hate paying these gas prices, comment below, let me know and I'll respond. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll check you guys here in the next one.